What are macroeconomic indicators? Macroeconomic indicators are statistics or data readings that reflect the economic circumstances of a particular country, region, or sector. Analysts and governments use them to assess the current and the future health of the economic and financial markets. I'll introduce you to Malaysia macroeconomic data. Malaysia has exports of 247 million, which are mainly electronic and electronic products. These products account for 38% of the total exports of the largest products and had imports of 270 millions, mainly in electronic equipment, which accounted for 29.8% of total imports in 2017. And the trade documents need to carry out these operations are the packing list, the certificate of origin, and bill. Thanks to all this, in Malaysia, FDA shares rose 10.3% to USD 163.8 billion in the second quarter of 2019. Malaysia does not have much trade agreement, but the most important of these is the Integral and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. GDP growth during 2019 was 4.3%, that positioned Malaysia as the third largest economy by volume of GDP. Its public debt in 2018 was 168 million euros with a debt of 55.57% of GDP. Its per capita debt is 502,008 euros per habitant. GDP per capita is a very good standard of living indicator, and in this case of Malaysia in 2018 it was 9,380 euros, with which it ranked 66 in the ranking, and inhabitants have a low standard of living compared to the rest of the 196 countries in the GDP ranking per capita. With regard to the Human Development Index, or HDI, which is developed by the United Nations to measure a country's progress and ultimately use the standard of living of inhabitants. It indicates that Malaysians are in 57th place. In this reason for visiting Malaysia is business, it is useful to know that Malaysia is ranked 15 out of the 119 that make up the Doing Business ranking, which ranks countries according to the easy they offer to do business. As for the public sector corruption perception index in Malaysia, it has been 47 points as it ranks 61 in the perception of corruption ranking of 180 countries. In terms of taxes, Malaysia is political and a non-resident company is taxed at 24% as a fixed rate regardless of its capital. The government's economic policy for the next year is a major objective to place Malaysia in the category of countries called high income by the bank to say global, that is whose gross per capita income exceeds 12.74. The senior real income is 10.51. To achieve this goal, the country has been following the so-called new economic model since the 1970s, which includes a series of economic transformation programs that are currently implemented through the Malaysia 10 Plan.
I'm going to talk about the geographical and political data of Malaysia. The boundaries are Thailand, Indonesia, and Brunei. The Malaysia's flag consists of 14 horizontal red and white stripes, as well as the peak of the sun, representing the 13 component states: Johor, Kedah, Kelantan, Malacca, Negri Sembilan, Pahang, Pulau Pinang, Perak, Perlis, Sabah, Sarawak, Selangor, and Terengganu and their government federal. The capital is Kuala Lumpur. The official language is Malay. Other languages are Cantonese, Hakka, and Hokkien. Most Indians speak Tamil, and the business language is English. In Malaysia, there are 31,528,585 of people. The urban population is 76%. Malaysia's population is growing at a rate of 1.4% as of 2020. This is significantly lower than its rate in 2000, which was 2.51%. The median age is 25 years. The Muslims represent the 61.3%, the Buddhists 19.8%, Christians 6.8%, Hindus 9.2%, Confucianists, Taoists, and other Chinese beliefs 1.3%. The currency is Malaysian ringgit or mir. One mir equals $0.2308 US dollars. The type of government is a constitutional monarchy. The current political leaders, the King Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah and the Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad. About the political risk is moderate. The judiciary is efficient, capable, and reliably independent. Perceived high levels of corruption, especially in the government. Weakness public trust. Malaysia is ranked 61 out of 180 countries in Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. In January 2019, the government launched a 5-year national anti-corruption plan focused in the public sector.
Malaysia originated from the Malay kingdoms which fell under the rule of the British in the 18th century and later became a British protectorate until it peacefully gained independence in 1957. These political historic ties mean that the Malaysian governing system is still reminiscent of the Westminster parliamentary model while the legal system is governed by common law, and English remains a common second language throughout the country. After independence was gained in 1957, the Malaysian government placed great emphasis on the development of businesses owned and run by indigenous Malays to counterbalance the fact that up until that time most businesses had been developed by ethnic Chinese and Indian families. However, the last currency crisis in the area saw a relaxation of this policy and restrictions on non-Malays buying into local organizations have been eased. Despite the positive discrimination policies pursued by the government for a number of years, many local businesses are still dominated by Chinese interests, and many senior employees of multinationals are also of Chinese extraction. Malaysia often appears very near the top of the tree in the best country to invest in, league tables. With a highly skilled, well-educated workforce and a pro-business government, Malaysia attracts high levels of foreign direct investment, and Kuala Lumpur is rapidly becoming a destination of choice for global organizations who are looking to establish an Asian head office. In fact, more than 5,000 companies from over 40 countries have established operations in Malaysia, and that trend looks set to continue. It would appear then that lots of global organizations consider doing business in Malaysia to be an attractive proposition. Political stability, great infrastructure, a highly motivated workforce, and ideal geographic location make doing business in Malaysia sound like good business sense. Yet, Malaysia is a complex mix of different ethnicities all working and living together. This mix has produced a very distinctive local business culture, which you need to understand before starting to build relationships and sell your goods or services. Traditionally, the minority Chinese section of society run most business activities in the country, but changing demographics and pro-Malay legislation have altered this picture over the past few decades. People wishing to manage others effectively in Malaysia need to be aware of certain critical issues, which may vary enormously from their own country of origin. Firstly, as an hierarchically oriented country, managers are expected to be people who are viewed as being worthy of respect, and this respect is based rather on personal attributes than on more task oriented matters. People are worthy of respect if they are older and have the wisdom that age brings, and people are also worthy of respect when they show respect to the face of others. Therefore, the manager should never do anything to make a subordinate lose face. Malaysian communication styles are characterized by extreme forms of politeness and diplomacy. It is often good to spend time going through the social pleasantries before discussing any actual business issues. This ice breaking is a vital part of the relationship building process, and its importance should never be underestimated. No is a difficult word and is therefore rarely heard. Malaysians prefer to give bad news in a very circuitous way through the use of coded messages, which may be difficult to pick up on. When unsure of the exact meaning of what has been said, try to ask a few open questions to draw out further information. Most Malaysians working in any kind of international role speak fluent English and are seen as a mark of prestige. Most people will also speak their own native language and also Bahasa Melayu, which is used as a bridge language across the various ethnic divides. As Malaysia is very ethnically diverse, try to do as much research on your potential contacts as possible before entering into negotiations. These factors can have a telling impact on how things proceed. Although the government has possibly discriminated in favor of ethnic Malays, the Chinese and Indian business communities still play a pivotal role in the Malaysian business world. Most business structures tend towards the hierarchical with information flowing to the top and most decisions being made by key senior management figures.
Business etiquette and protocol in Malaysia. Meeting and greeting. Within the business context, most Malaysian business people are culturally safe and internationally exposed. Your experience may very well depend upon the ethnicity, age, sex, and status of the person you are meeting. The best approach is always friendly yet formal. A few tips include: initial greetings should be formal and denote proper respect. If in a team, introduce the most important person first. Many Malays and Indians are uncomfortable shaking hands with a member of the opposite sex. Foreign men should always wait for a Malaysian woman to extend her hand. Foreign women should also wait for a Malaysian man to extend his hand. To demonstrate respect, Chinese may look downwards rather than at the person they are meeting. It is important that professional titles, professor, doctor, engineer, and honorific titles are used in business. Malays and Indians use titles with their first name while Chinese use titles with their surnames. Business card etiquette. Business cards are exchanged after the initial introductions. If you will be meeting Chinese, have one side of your card translated into Chinese with the Chinese character printed in gold. If you will be meeting government officials, have one side of your card translated into Bahasa Malaysia. Use two hands or the right hand only to exchange business cards. Examine a business card you receive before putting it in your business card case. In the communication, as an extension to the need to maintain harmonious relations, Malaysians rely on non-verbal communication. It could be facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, etc. In business meetings, it's a good idea for the most senior person on your team to enter first so that he or she is the first to greet the most senior Malaysian. This gives face to both parts, as it demonstrates respect towards the Malaysian and shows that you respect hierarchy within your company. It is customary for leaders to sit opposite each other around the table. Many companies will have their team seated in this descending rank, although this is not always the case. Except the most senior Malaysian to give a brief welcoming speech, you need to reciprocate it. There will be a period of small talk which will end when the most senior Malaysian is comfortable moving to the business discussion. Meeting may be the conducted or continue over lunch and dinner.